I remember of a small incident when I had a fight with a patient's relative as an intern in pediatrics. And that time, Indian childhood cirrhosis was something which has now disappeared. And this child was almost dying, and I was very tired. I was the only intern. It was February of 77, I think. And his father was wanting me to attend to his child, and we had a little bit of an interaction. And I said, "Don't act stupid" or something. I said something like that. And I was sobered by the head of the department, and I was very sad while I came back home. And I was sitting having my breakfast. My father had retired, and he was looking at me and he said, "What happened?" So he said, I was doing all the correct things in the night, but here was a patient, he shouted at me, and then when I shouted back, he complained and so on. So he said, "What happened to his child?" I said, this. Will he survive? I think most likely no.
You must have trained how many individuals under you till now?
In airway part, we have done more than 200 workshops. So I would say definitely if 50 or 60 is the average, then that is the number, 12,000 or 15,000.
And I'm sure that
and
they
then
would
life
have...
support is the other part where we have done 300 plus. There we have interacted with more than 200 or 300,000 people.
I agree that you have spent your life into the government setups. And why prolong government stay? Why not immediately moving out to private? How did you take that call? The world will glorify, always the hunter till the tiger writes the story. A surgeon is glorified by a lot of hospitals. But can a surgeon operate a patient till the time it's not optimized by the anesthetist? Hi friends, this is Dr. Apurv Mehra, and I welcome all of you to E-Conceptual. It is a dream to develop different spectrums of E-Conceptual, and conceptual anesthesia is one of my favorite aspects in that. हर एक का एक सपना होता है, हर एक को आगे बढ़ने के लिए एक मकाम चाहिए होता है. आज से 40-50 साल बाद, when this video which we watched, this day, that is 26 June 2025, will be imprinted in history, when one of our teachers, right, जिनको देखकर हम अपने कॉलेज में बड़े हुए, उनकी टीचिंग स्किल्स जो पूरा हिंदुस्तान और विदेश के ऊपर इम्प्रिंट्स हैं, राइट, who walked into E-Conceptual and blessed conceptual anesthesia, right? I can just record for next 20 minutes and call it a day that this recording is done, and talking about him. But the aim is not just to talk about him, but the aim is to understand what the legend himself is. So I have a privilege to welcome, right, our teachers, teachers of teachers, the mentor, a phenomenal doctor, right? And as you say, right, like the soccer ball feels privileged where Thierry Henry touches it, like the tennis ball feels privileged when the Nadal hits it on the clay court. And that's how the anesthesia branch has been blessed with our dear Professor Dr. Rakesh Kumar, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Apurv. It's a privilege to be here.
So, sir, as humble you are, and as कहते हैं कि जो ये नदियाँ होती हैं वो ज़्यादा शोर मचाती हैं, सागर हमेशा शांत होता है. So you will very, very well observe in this video that sir has this charming, quiet personality, but you will have lots of things to take from his talk when we talk about as a resident, as a practitioner, or any specialty. This is not going to restrict to anesthesia, pain, or airway. It's going to go beyond everything. So, sir, as we look into the careers today, right, you are either a doctor or you are an academician, right? How did you balance it out in your whole life? How you've been a professor at Maulana Azad Medical College, and there are things that every professor there does, teaching the undergraduates and the postgraduates, but you crossed the boundaries, you went beyond it. So how did this come to you, sir? How did you break the shackles and go beyond the norms?
I would say it came just by chance. Of course, we were looking for opportunities to. It was always a privilege interacting with young people and changing scenario every year. But as we grew, and we were 20 years into our professional career, we suddenly realized that we were, hitting that complacent kind of a situation where you have done everything, you have seen everything kind of feeling. But at that point of time, something came up, and we kind of chose to delve into airway management and life support skills. And once we went there, we suddenly found that this was our niche. It's a pleasure to see that the young people younger than you, they try and find it much earlier nowadays, and that's very nice and very encouraging. But we took quite some time, and we were doing our regular things, of course, in the best possible way. And we were doing a lot of work on airway management. We were also looking at resuscitation. I had been in touch with the pioneer in Delhi, Dr. N.P. Singh, and I had worked with him also. But to get into structured teaching and structured learning, this is something which came just by chance. We met a couple of people, and we realized that we were doing more of textbook teaching. When it came to telling people how to go about it in a structured and regularly standardized manner, once we learned that, we said, wow, this is the eureka moment for us. And why shouldn't we, we are blessed to have become teachers, and so why can't we percolate it down the line? And that is how the journey began in 2000, I would say, 2, 3, that we decided that this is what we are going to do for the rest of our careers. But at the same time, we did not leave the clinical at all. Because you said, how did I balance academics and clinicals? So I thought that why not do academics in that area which is clinically relevant, and we are doing day in, day out, and we have already spent so many years in it. So why can't we kind of blend it and make it into a structured teaching and pass it on to the generations? So the clinical work did not suffer. We kept on doing that. In fact, that became even better. And in 2003, we shot our first video on a web camera borrowed from a friend. And from there, we went on to, once you shoot your own videos and you look at them, then you say that, oh, we need to correct it. And once you start correcting yourself, you are less critical of others. As professor, you have a very simple mindset that give feedback. This is wrong, that is better, this is the. But later on, we went from feedback to debriefing. So, Apurv, how did you do?
Yeah, so
It's like that kind of
Yeah.
question I started asking.
Yeah.
And then if Apurv could say, sir, I think I could have done that better. He felt very good that he has found his own, problems rather than somebody pointing it. And that was a great change. And from there onwards, no looking back. It has been a wonderful journey.
Fantastic. So I have so many things to take from this. Number one, in the 20th year, Sir evolved. So it is never too late to, reincarnate. It's like an eagle shedding off its old wings and coming out with the new ones. 2003, 2002, he started with his first video, and he was ready to correct himself at that seniority. All is easy, when you look at his career of 45 years today, because 20 years plus 23 years, 24 years. So it's already more than 40 years of career, what I understand from this. But what he's saying is he was ready to correct himself. Means, as Professor S.M. Tuli gave the tagline to e-conceptual, the learning never ends. He's standing tall to that statement. He was always ready to understand. He was taking suggestions, As he beautifully mentioned, you can critically be ready to accept that you have scope to improve. Gods don't walk on earth. They are in heaven. And human beings, they make errors, and they should be ready to understand and correct. So here is a big learning. And look at what he's saying, There were two things which made him better. Number one, teaching his students, means he's ready to give more. And number two, his clinical touch, because your patients are your best teacher. That was never left. So that is what you will find in the academicians of the world. Their best teachers are the patients, and the best way to revise is while you teach somebody and have the absorbing power. I'll give you an example. Take a bread at your home, put butter on it when it's cold. Nothing will happen. Now warm the bread, put butter, it will absorb. That warmth has to be there in you to absorb things, and that warmth opens your brain to learn more. So we have a person who was at the level of a professor. After 20 years of a career, he could have maintained the status quo. But human beings don't climb mountains to see the top of the mountain. They climb a mountain to see the next peak which they have to climb. And that is what we learn here, sir. Phenomenal. So many things to learn. Now, my question, sir, right? At this stage, okay, I'll go stage wise.
Right.
When you were a resident, how did your day look like?
Well, as a resident, the good thing which I learned, I think you learn the most from your family. And the thing which I learned from my family, my father and mother, was compassion. So the only thing which, I remember of a small incident when I had a fight with a patient's relative as an intern in pediatrics. And that time, Indian childhood cirrhosis was something which has now disappeared. And this child was almost dying, and I was very tired. I was the only intern. It was February of 77, I think. And his father was wanting me to attend to his child, and we had a little bit of an interaction. And I said, don't act stupid or something. I said something like that. And I was sobered by the head of the department, and I was very sad while I came back home. And I was sitting having my breakfast. My father had retired, and he was looking at me and he said, what happened? So I said, I was doing all the correct things in the night, but here was a patient, he shouted at me, and then when I shouted back, he complained and so and so. So he said, what happened to his child? I said, this. Will he survive? I think most likely no. So he said, have you looked at his psyche? Why did he do that to you? And if somebody is angry, there must be a reason. And please put yourself in his shoes. So go back tomorrow and say sorry to him. And as a young boy, I said, wow, me, I was not at fault. So he said, no, just follow my advice and don't say sorry and come back. Hold his hand and say sorry. So it took me 10, 12 hours to prepare myself for this action. But next day when I went there, before I could hold his hand, he came and he held my hand and he said, Dr. Saab, I was very rude to you. So, I almost cried and we cried at each other's shoulder. But that was a great lesson to learn that, the first thing I have to be is compassionate and think that if I were in this position, what would I expect? So from there, the journey of residency became very interesting. I kind of coaxed my professors and my teachers and my resident seniors and get the best out of them.
Fantastic.
So that was the part as far as the college was concerned. But soon after the college, I would rush back home, take off my pants and wear my shorts, and I'll be playing volleyball for the next 3 hours. Every evening, 3 hours was a volleyball game close to my house. So that was our badminton. So the evenings were like that. And unfortunately, we didn't have this e-books in my pocket. So I could not read so I had to come and study also. So that was, as a resident, that was the time. And in anesthesia also, I got a couple of wonderful teachers like H.P. Verma and Dr. Mrs. Mittal, who again, taught me how to be very gentle and humane to the patients. So that is what.
I was sitting in the OPD, sir, going from your point, and a young boy walked and asked me, can I drive the car that you're driving? I said, you can do that. So how do I get that? If I study well, will I be able to do that? So I said, if you study well, you won't be able to get that. But if you are compassionate, just studying can get you a degree. But if you have to rise to a level where you do something and start affording things, you have to be compassionate towards others. And the second thing is you need to unite people and appreciate others. Till the time you can't develop a team. And till the time you don't develop a team, you cannot live a better life.
Absolutely,
right, sir?
Well said.
And as I look at, sir, you've been a pioneer in the Airway and the workshops you've been doing. You must have trained how many individuals under you till now?
In Airway part, we have done more than 200 workshops. So I would say definitely if 50 or 60 is the average, and that is the number 12,000 or 15,000.
And I'm sure that
And
they
then
would
life
have.
support is the other part where we have done 300 plus. There we have interacted with more than 200 or 300,000 people.
So when you count them, they would have saved millions of lives what you have trained, right?
I hope so. And we have had feedbacks on that, that they have really enjoyed saving patients.
So when you understand this, the world will glorify, always the hunter till the tiger writes the story. A surgeon is glorified by a lot of hospitals. But can a surgeon operate a patient till the time it's not optimized by the anesthetist? You talk about big corporate setups and their ICUs. Can you actually have a good setup without good critical care team and the anesthesia team which works day in, day out? And they are the real superheroes. And we realized it during COVID. It is the man behind the mask that matters the most. And they have been the people. When I walk to the operation theater, it looks so very easy to operate on a patient, but their struggle has been immense. And they have been doing a lot of time. I must not say a thankless job, but a phenomenal job. They are like the people who are managing everything in the operation theaters. And it is a phenomenal thing. It's like your mother. They are the mothers of the hospital. माँ जो एक घर में करती रहती है वही एक एनेस्थेटिस्ट एक ऑपरेशन थिएटर में करता है एंड वही एक क्रिटिकल केयर का बंदा एक आईसीयू में और एक इमरजेंसी में करता है सो दैट आंसर्स माई नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन बट आई विल लाइक टू हेयर फ्रॉम यू सर यू मस्ट हैव हैड अ चॉइस ऑफ गोइंग अब्रॉड एंड लीविंग द कंट्री फॉर द ग्रीनर पास्चर्स you stick to India. Why?
No specific reason, I would say. I was never somehow thrilled about going outside because, as you know, half of our classmates are outside and they are very well settled, doing very fine. But somehow, I don't know, probably another virtue which I learned from my parents probably was contentment. So I was contented. I remember as a seventh class student, my teacher told me to write what you want to be. So I said, I just want to be a school teacher. So somehow the teaching thrilled me a lot. So getting into academics, and I got the opportunity to be here, and that too at Maulana Azad Medical College. And so I never looked back that I have to go outside and all. And it was later on in 2000, for the first time, I went out and presented my work at World Congress. And then I realized that we were doing fine. We
Yeah.
were doing great job. The only thing I would like to say is that probably at an earlier stage in your career, you can go out, which is happening now.
Yes.
Because going out is affordable. For me, it was 8 months salary to just go and come back from US at that point of time. So it took me some time to actually go out and see. And then when I realized that we are doing a great job, I've seen the orthopedician at par with the world. We have seen anesthesiologist, intensivist at par with the world. And so nothing kind of pulled me to go outside at that point of time. And I enjoyed my career here quite a lot. One thing I would like to say that you were saying that patients are our main teaching inspiration. So I realized that down in my career, and whenever I wrote a paper, earlier I used to write Maulana Azad Medical College and Associated Hospital. But then I started writing Maulana Azad Medical College and Lok Nayak Hospital.
Yeah.
Because I thought Lok Nayak Hospital was the ground which was giving me those clinical base on which I was building my building.
Yeah. And that is what, sir, I take 3 points here,
Mm-hmm.
I've been hearing you often referring to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that all of you listening, talk to your parents every day. They are your best teachers till the time you can. And you will realize this after 30 years, what big statement this is. If you can talk to both the parents on a day, you are very blessed. That is your biggest gift in life. I wish that we all live with that, but life changes, life happens. Second, thank your teachers, He has mentioned one name, Professor MP Singh sir, the first one. And then he mentioned 2 more teachers while talking about have gratitude. And number 3, which I want to say is, compassion is one thing. Be ready to step back. आगे बढ़ने के लिए भी 2 कदम पीछे जाना पड़ता है. So that is what next day, when you are ready to be compassionate and apologize, you'll be shocked that the world also aligns. My grandmother always used to tell me this thing, जब अच्छा करने के लिए निकलोगे तो वहाँ भी बहुत भीड़ मिलेगी. तो
Correct.
ऐसा नहीं है कि आप खाली रह जाओगे. एंड पहली रिकॉर्डिंग में कैमरा उधार लिया था. सो अगर करने की इच्छा है ना तो रिसोर्सेज कभी नहीं अटकेंगे. बहाना है, लोग तैयारी करते रहते हैं, मांगते रह जाते हैं. ऑलराइट, बट जिन लोगों ने लिमिटेशन में किया है, दे हैव नेवर स्ट्रगल्ड, बिकॉज कम में बहुत बड़ी ताकत होती है, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग इन लाइफ इज अप्रिशिएटेड. एंड ही वॉज विलिंग टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हेन ही वॉज गोइंग आउट ऑल्सो हाउ ही वॉज ही डूइंग फेयर. ही स्टिक टू द कंट्री. आई ऑलवेज से माँ और धरती माँ के लिए कुछ भी कर जाना चाहिए. एंड आई एम वेरी हैप्पी दैट टीचर्स लाइक यू, क्लिनिशियंस लाइक यू डिड नॉट लीव दिस कंट्री, बिकॉज आफ्टर ऑल हम यहाँ पैदा हुए हैं. सो इस देश को भी ज़रूरत है. एंड माई लास्ट क्वेश्चन सर,
Mhm.
I agree that you have spent your life into the government setups. And why prolong government stay? Why not immediately moving out to private? How did you take that call? You have answered it in fragments, but the concluding thing, sir.
Because I was very lucky that I did not get a government job to begin with. When I finished my senior residency, it was 1985, and I didn't have anything to do. And so by default, I had to go for a freelance practice which was in a very, I would say, shambles in Delhi at that point of time. But those 3 years were a great teacher again. The kind of feedback which you get in practice, especially a small time practice as a freelancer, is unique.
I know.
The feedback is straight.
मना ही नहीं कर सकते आप. You have to take up every case.
Take up every
सर्जन
case.
कहता है सर कब लगाओगे.
Yes.
Government is a different setup.
And you just imagine that I had never ever faced a situation of post-dural puncture headache, because we never saw the patient, followed up the patient in our government setup.
True.
So here, the second day of my career, and I got a phone call that the patient has got headache, and I said, okay, spinal. I had given. We were using much bigger needles at that point of time, and now we have gone down to 26 and 27 gauge needles. We were using 21, 22 gauge needles. So then I realized that these things happen. So again, I took those 3 years as a great teacher. I have always used that to answer the questions when my residents come and say that I want to go into practice. I just tell them what my experience has been on those 3 years. And that when I got a chance to come back to the government setup, and I started using all those things which, don't come naturally, unfortunately, in a government setup, is that looking after the patient, what he is wearing, is she being undressed in front of the people, and things like that. So I had fight with very senior people of gynae and obstetrics, because I found that they could undress a lady in front of 10 people. So I had a fight with the head of the department, and she would say in her typical voice, "Arey Rakesh, aa gaya, iske samne nahi kar sakte."
True.
So but the point is that I love that I could make that small change. So once I came here, and I kept on getting students who were very good intelligence wise, their capability wise, and if you could stimulate them, they could go much beyond you. And once that started happening, it is addicting. So I could never think of leaving this job with Maulana Azad and Loknayak Hospital. The kind of patient which we were getting, and the kind of students we were getting, it was just a matter of interacting with them and try to take from them what they had to offer in terms of creativity, and try to give them back whatever little you could get over the period of time. And the journey just kept on growing. Even those 20 years when I was not doing anything like airway and life support in a structured manner, I was still very happy that I was what I was doing, because when I left my practice was 20,000 rupees a month
At that time.
at that time in 1988, and I got into a job which gave me 3,700 rupees a month. But thanks to my wife, who was again a contented person, and she allowed me to do that. So it has been like that only. So I got the right people around me, maybe wrong by other standards. For me, they have been very, very good, and I have never repented coming back and staying in government setup.
So I would like to summarize Sir's talk. What we learned here is compassion, taught by the parents. Care, that is the word that defines everything in the world, taught by his initial stint with private practice. Contentment, taught again by himself, by his parents, and by the home minister, his wife. And ready to accept criticism, to finally to reach to the level of excellence. And that is why, he's been able to reach to the masses and educate people to save lives. And here he's a superhero to create a difference and save lives, because there's a very big statement. There was a boy throwing out the every fish that will come out of the sea, so that he's able to save it. So somebody walked to him and said, कितनी मछलियाँ बचाओगे? तो ऐसा जितनी मैं बचा सकता हूँ उतनी तो मैं बचाऊंगा ही, राइट? एंड देयर कम्स द लास्ट स्टेटमेंट ऑफ दिस, छोटा हूँ तो क्या हुआ, हूँ मैं आंसू एक, सागर जैसा स्वाद है चख कर तो देख. So he is as big as a sea and as quiet as a sea. You will have a short video by sir to describe his achievements and how he has built everything, which will be a separate one on conceptual anesthesia. But thank you very much, sir. Thank you for this talk.
Thank you. Apu.